hearing persistent knocks at the door of a mansion. A millionaire opens it irritably, but his face transforms into pure shock when he sees a little beggar girl holding a crying baby inside a garbage bag. "Sir, I found your son in the trash can of your mansion," says the girl with an innocent voice. The millionaire, diagnosed as sterile for years, feels the world crumble beneath his feet. What he does next is so unbelievable that it completely changes the destiny of these 3 lives and reveals a secret that no one could imagine. The Drummond estate stirred slowly to life that Sunday morning, cloaked in a soft mist that gradually dissipated with the first rays of sun. Staff moved silently through the marble hallways, preparing for another day's work in the imposing residence. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee, prepared by the housekeeper, Mrs. Martinez, mingled with the scent of cleaning products used to maintain the floor's impeccable shine. Edward Drummond, the owner of the estate, had been in his office since the early hours, as usual. At 52, his austere figure was reflected in the minimalist decor of the room. Shades of grey, black and white dominated the space, much like his own life. Known in the business world for his calculated coolness and controversial decisions, Drummond had built an empire he was proud of, even if it meant sacrificing personal relationships along the way. The meticulously maintained silence in the mansion was abruptly shattered by insistent knocking at the main door. The sound echoed through the empty corridors, causing Drummond to lift his eyes from his computer screen with visible irritation. The knocking continued, growing more urgent, until Mrs. Martinez appeared at his office door, her usually serene face marked by a worried expression. "Mr. Drummond, there's someone at the front door. A child." Before she could finish, Drummond was already on his feet, his firm steps echoing down the hall. Interruptions to his routine were something he deeply despised, especially on Sundays, his day reserved for reviewing strategies and planning the week ahead. As he opened the heavy oak door, his eyebrows furrowed at the sight that awaited him. A girl of about 7, with worn clothes and disheveled hair, clutched a large black trash bag. Her brown eyes, frightened yet determined, met his. Most disturbing, however, was the sound coming from inside the bag, the desperate cry of a baby. "Uncle, I found your son in the trash can by your mansion," the little girl said, her voice trembling but firm as she held the bag even tighter against her chest. Drummond felt the world spin beneath his feet. The word son echoed in his mind like a dissonant bell. More than a decade ago, after extensive medical tests, he had received the definitive diagnosis of his infertility. It was a secret he guarded closely, a wound that had never fully healed, buried under layers of professional success and cultivated indifference. "That's impossible," he replied curtly, his controlled voice masking the whirlwind of emotions beginning to stir in his chest. "There must be some mistake." The girl, however, didn't move. Carefully, she lowered the bag and gently opened it, revealing a small bundle in a light blue blanket. The baby, sensing the movement, opened its eyes, and Drummond felt his heart stop for a moment. That gaze, an intense, peculiar blue he knew all too well. It was the same shade he saw every day in the mirror. "I found him near the big dumpster. Way at the back of the yard," the girl explained, her voice softer now, as if trying not to scare the baby. "He was crying a lot. I was going to take him somewhere else, but then he opened his eyes, and they're just like yours." Drummond remained motionless, torn between calling security to remove this intruder and the inexplicable urge to take the baby in his arms. Mrs. Martinez, who had been watching the scene from the doorway, approached cautiously. "Sir, perhaps we should come in," Drummond cut her off abruptly, surprising himself with the decision. "You too, girl. Let's sort this out inside." As the little girl entered, preciously carrying her burden, Drummond noticed she limped slightly. Her clothes, besides being worn, were damp from the morning mist, and her face showed clear signs of exhaustion. For a brief moment, he wondered how long this child had been wandering the vicinity of his property. Mrs. Martinez quickly took the lead, guiding the girl to the kitchen. The baby continued to cry, though less intensely now. Drummond followed, his mind working furiously to find a logical explanation for this surreal situation. How could this baby be his son? And why would someone abandon him on his property? As he watched the housekeeper help the girl settle into one of the kitchen chairs, Drummond reached for his phone, ready to call the authorities. However, something made him hesitate. Those blue eyes remained etched in his memory, identical to his own, carrying a truth he wasn't prepared to face. In the spacious kitchen, Mrs. Martinez prepared a cup of hot chocolate for the girl, while Drummond leaned against the doorframe, observing the scene with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. The baby, calmer now, was nestled in the housekeeper's arms, who showed a surprising naturalness in handling the child. "What's your name, little one?" Mrs. Martinez asked, placing the steaming cup before the girl. "Sophia," she replied, her eyes fixed on the hot chocolate. "Sophia Miller." "And how long have you been out there alone?" the housekeeper continued, choosing her words carefully. Sophia wrapped her small hands around the cup as if seeking its warmth. "Since Grandma got really sick. About 2 weeks, I think." She took a sip of chocolate before continuing. "She's in the hospital and I couldn't stay there. The nurses said they were going to call Child Protective Services." Drummond, who had kept his distance until then, approached the table. "And where exactly did you find this baby?" "In the big dumpster near the back wall," Sophia answered, her voice gaining a firmer tone. "But he wasn't inside it. No, he was next to it, well protected in a cardboard box with this blue blanket. I only found him because I was looking for food." Mrs. Martinez exchanged a significant look with Drummond. The baby began to stir in her arms, and she noticed something stiff inside the blanket. Carefully, she unfolded the fabric and found a white envelope, sealed and addressed to Edward Drummond. "Sir," she called, holding out the envelope with one hand while cradling the baby with the other. Drummond took the envelope with fingers that trembled imperceptibly. As he opened it, his eyes quickly scanned the handwritten lines, and his normally impassive face lost all color. "Impossible," he murmured, sinking into a chair. "What does the letter say, sir?" asked Mrs. Martinez, unable to contain her curiosity. Drummond ran a hand through his graying hair, a rare gesture of vulnerability. It's about a fertilization procedure, using my genetic material, which was stored years ago during an experimental treatment." He looked at the baby, who was now sleeping peacefully. "The letter mentions details that only someone very close could know." Sophia, who had been watching everything intently while drinking her chocolate, interrupted. "So I was right, he really is your son." Before Drummond could respond, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Martinez, still holding the baby, went to the kitchen entrance and looked down the hall. "It's the social worker, sir. I called her as soon as the girl arrived." Drummond stood up abruptly. "We can't involve the authorities yet, not until I fully understand what's happening here." But it was too late. A middle-aged woman with brown hair pulled back in a severe bun and wearing a grey blazer was already being escorted into the kitchen by one of the estate's security guards. "Good morning, I'm Beatrice Kent from Child Protective Services," she introduced herself, her experienced eyes quickly assessing the situation. "We received a call about an abandoned child." "I'm not abandoned," Sophia protested, standing up from her chair. "And neither is the baby. He has a father. He's right." "Here." The social worker arched an eyebrow, looking from Sophia to Drummond, then to the baby in Mrs. Martinez's arms. "Mr. Drummond, could you explain what's going on?" Over the next few minutes, Drummond recounted the morning's events, showing the letter to the social worker. Beatrice Kent read it with professional attention, her face revealing years of experience with complex cases of abandonment and family disputes. "I understand the delicacy of the situation," she said finally, "but I need to follow protocol. The baby will have to go to a temporary shelter until we can confirm paternity through a DNA test." "No!" cried Sophia, rushing to place herself between the social worker and the baby. "You can't take him! I promised I'd take care of him. I promised!" When I found him, tears began to stream down her face as she clung to Drummond's leg. "Please, Uncle, don't let her take him away." The millionaire, caught off guard by the girl's gesture, felt something strange in his chest, an emotion he hadn't experienced in years. Sophia's crying, mixed with the baby's sudden awakening, created a cacophony that seemed to penetrate the thick walls he had built around his heart. Drummond looked at Sophia's small hand, clutching the fabric of his dress pants, feeling the tremor that ran through the girl's body. The baby's cries echoed through the kitchen, a sound that inexplicably seemed to awaken something dormant within him. Mrs. Martinez rocked the child gently, trying to soothe him, while the social worker waited with an expression that blended compassion and professional determination. "Miss Kent," Drummond began, his voice taking on the authoritative tone he usually used in important negotiations. "I understand the need to follow protocols, but this situation requires a different approach." Beatrice Kent adjusted her glasses, a gesture that showed her preparedness for a confrontation. "Mr. Drummond, I know you're an influential man, but laws exist for a reason. We can't just—" "I can sign a temporary guardianship agreement," he interrupted, surprising everyone in the kitchen, including himself. "I will assume temporary custody of the baby while the DNA tests are conducted. I have more than enough resources to ensure his well-being." The social worker frowned, considering the proposal. "And what about the girl? She also needs a safe place, and from what I understand, her grandmother is hospitalized." Sophia tightened, her grip on Drummond's leg, her small body trembling with suppressed sobs. The millionaire felt a pang in his chest as he noticed the fear in the child's eyes, a fear he knew well, the fear of loneliness and abandonment. "She can stay too," he declared, the words leaving his mouth before he could think better of it. "I have enough rooms, a full staff, and Mrs. Martinez has experience with children." The housekeeper, who had been silently observing the scene until then, stepped forward. "I can take care of both of them, Ms. Kent. I raised 3 children and helped raise 5 grandchildren. I know when a child is safe and well cared for." Beatrice Kent walked to the kitchen window, observing the immaculate gardens of the estate. After a few moments of reflection, she turned back to the group. "I'll need some documents signed, and I'll make regular follow-up visits. We'll also need to locate Sophia's grandmother to obtain formal authorization." "St. Luke's Hospital," Sophia murmured, wiping her tears with the sleeve of her shirt. "Grandma's there, on the 4th floor. Her name is Helena Miller." Drummond made a mental note of the name. "I will immediately arrange for her transfer to a private room at the best hospital in the city. That way, Sophia can visit her whenever she wants." The girl looked at him with wide eyes, full of surprise and gratitude. "Really? Can I really see Grandma?" "Yes," he replied, feeling something strange in his throat as he saw hope emerge on the child's face. "And now, I think we need to give this little one a name." The baby, as if understanding they were talking about him, stopped crying and opened his eyes. Those stunning blue eyes that so disturbed Drummond. Mrs. Martinez approached, allowing everyone to see the child better. "Michael," Sophia suggested shyly. "That was the name of my little brother who wasn't born. Grandma always says it's an angel's name." A silence heavy with emotion filled the kitchen. Even Beatrice Kent, accustomed to dealing with difficult situations, seemed touched by the suggestion. Michael Drummond, the millionaire tested, feeling the weight and responsibility of that name. I think it fits. Mrs. Martinez smiled, the first genuine smile of that tense morning. I'll prepare the rooms on the second floor. The old guest room next to yours, sir, can be adapted for the baby, and Sophia can stay in the pink room, which overlooks the garden. While the housekeeper organized herself, still holding Michael, Beatrice Kent prepared the preliminary documents. On her tablet, I'll need your signatures and I'll be back tomorrow with the complete documentation. I'll also start an investigation into the baby's origin and his biological mother. Drummond nodded, but his attention was focused on Sophia, who had finally let go of his leg and was now looking around the kitchen with renewed curiosity. You must be hungry, he said, realizing the girl had only had hot chocolate. Mrs. Martinez, oh, could you? I'm already arranging a hearty breakfast, the housekeeper replied, seeming to have regained all her vigor with the new developments. And then, I think we'll need to do some shopping. These children need clothes, and the baby needs diapers, bottles. The list went on, and Drummond realized that his orderly, predictable life was about to change completely. Strangely, the idea didn't frighten him as much as it should have. What frightened him was the speed with which these two children, appearing out of nowhere on a Sunday morning, had begun to tear down the walls he had spent decades building. The following hours passed in a whirlwind of activity. Drummond, accustomed to delegating tasks and keeping his distance from everyday chaos, found himself inexplicably involved in every decision. Mrs. Martinez had transformed the kitchen into a command center, organizing lists of essential purchases, while coordinating other staff members by phone. We need a crib, a high chair, clothes for both of them, she muttered, scribbling on a notepad. Sophia, more at ease after a substantial breakfast, watched everything with attentive eyes, occasionally suggesting colors and details for her new room. Light blue, she opined when the housekeeper mentioned the need for crib sheets. It matches his eyes. And yours too, uncle, she added, casting a shy glance at Drummond. The millionaire, who had just hung up the phone after arranging for Sophia's grandmother's transfer to University Hospital's private wing, felt that now familiar pang in his chest. It was disconcerting how the girl could make observations that hit him squarely with the honesty characteristic of children. Mrs. Martinez, he called, adjusting his tie in a nervous gesture. I think I'd better go shopping myself. I need to make sure everything will be suitable. The housekeeper raised her eyebrows, surprised. In 15 years working at the estate, she had never seen Edward Drummond offer to go shopping personally. Sir, I can ask the purchasing team. No, he interrupted her, his voice softer than usual. I insist. And Sophia is coming with me. She needs new clothes, and no one better than her to choose. The girl, who was idly playing with a strand of her unkempt hair, abruptly lifted her head. Can I really go? And can I pick out an outfit for Michael too? Yes to both questions, Drummond replied, allowing himself a small smile as he saw the joy on the child's face. Mrs. Martinez, can you stay with Michael while we're out? Certainly, sir. I'll take the opportunity to give him a bath and organize the rooms. I've already asked Rita to prepare the pink room and clean the old guest room. While Sophia ran to wash her hands and face following the housekeeper's instructions, Drummond went up to his room to change his suit for something more casual, a change that symbolized, without him realizing it, the beginning of his own transformation. On the way to the mall, sitting beside the driver with Sophia in the back seat, Drummond found himself watching the girl in the rearview mirror. She kept her nose pressed against the window, marveling at the city view rushing past. "Uncle," she called out suddenly, "why do you live alone in that big house?" The question, seemingly innocent, hit Drummond like a punch to the gut. For a moment, he considered giving an evasive answer, as he always did when someone touched on personal matters. But something in Sophia's sincere gaze made him change his mind. "It wasn't always like this," he replied, his voice low. "There was a time when I dreamed of having a big family, but some things didn't go as I planned, and I ended up getting used to being alone." "But you're not alone anymore," Sophia declared with childhood simplicity. "Now you have me and Michael." Drummond felt his throat tighten. Before he could answer, his cell phone rang. It was Richard Thompson, his lawyer and longtime friend. "Edward, what's this I hear about you taking temporary custody of 2 children?" Richard's voice sounded worried. "I have 3 reporters calling me to confirm the rumor. Have you lost your mind?" "Richard, it's not quite like that." "Don't give me, it's not quite like that. You've built your reputation on discretion and control. This story could destroy everything you've—" "Richard," Drummond interrupted him, his voice taking on a tone that surprised even himself. "We'll talk later. I'm busy right now." Hanging up the phone, he realized Sophia was watching him in the mirror, her eyes revealing an understanding beyond her years. "Was he mad at you because of us?" she asked in a low voice. "Don't worry about it," Drummond replied, turning to look at her directly. "Some people take a while to understand when things need to change." The mall was relatively empty that Sunday morning, which was a relief. Drummond, who normally avoided public places, found himself enjoying Sophia's excitement at the colorful shop windows. In a children's clothing store, she chose a few simple but pretty dresses, always asking if it wasn't too expensive. "Don't worry about that," he repeated, noticing how she carefully checked each price tag before choosing something. It was evident that despite her young age, Sophia already carried worries no child should have. The afternoon at the mall stretched longer than Drummond had initially planned. After clothes shopping, he found himself dragged by Sophia to a toy store, where the girl, surprisingly, spent more time choosing gifts for Michael than for herself. It was at that moment, watching her carefully examine each rattle and teether, that a familiar voice cut through the air. "Edward? Edward Drummond?" He turned to find Isabella Mendez, his ex-fiancée, and a renowned fertility specialist, standing a few feet away. Her green eyes, which he had once known so well, were wide with surprise. "Isabella," he replied, feeling a familiar knot form in his stomach. It had been 5 years since she broke off the engagement, claiming she couldn't spend her life with someone who refused to open his heart. "I didn't believe it when I saw the news on Twitter," she said, approaching. "Edward Drummond shopping on a Sunday, accompanied by a child. I thought it was some mistake." Before he could answer, Sophia appeared beside him, carrying a small blue teddy bear. "Uncle, do you think Michael will like this? It's really soft and—" She stopped upon noticing Isabella, who was now looking from one to the other with an unreadable expression. "Michael?" Isabella asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Edward, who is Michael?" Drummond instinctively placed a hand on Sophia's shoulder, a protective gesture that didn't go unnoticed by his ex-fiancée. "It's a long story, Isabella, and frankly, I don't think this is the time." "He's his son," Sophia interrupted proudly. "I found him this morning near the mansion's dumpster, but he wasn't inside it. No, he was protected in a box with a letter and everything." Isabella's face visibly paled. "A letter? Edward, we need to talk. In private." There was something in her tone of voice that made Drummond hesitate. In the 15 years they had known each other, including the 3 of their engagement, he had rarely seen her so distraught. "Sophia," he called, crouching down to her eye level. "How about you pick out a few more toys for yourself and Michael while I have a quick chat with Ms. Mendez? Stay where I can see you." Sophia nodded, still holding the blue teddy bear. "Can I get this for Michael?" "Of course," he replied, surprised at how easily the words came out. "Choose whatever you like." As soon as Sophia moved away, Isabella pulled Drummond to a more discreet corner of the store. "Edward, tell me exactly what that letter said. Why does it matter to you?" "Because," she took a deep breath, as if gathering courage, "I think I know who the baby's mother is, and why he was left at your house." Drummond felt his blood run cold. "What do you mean you know? Do you remember that experimental procedure you underwent 12 years ago, when we froze your genetic material before starting treatment for your condition?" He nodded rigidly. How could he forget? It was then that he received the diagnosis that changed his life, the certainty that he could never have children naturally. "About a year ago," Isabella continued, her voice now almost a whisper, "a patient of mine, Anna Louise Stanton, lost her husband in an accident. She was devastated, desperate to have his child, but discovered he hadn't left any genetic material stored." Drummond began to feel a sense of vertigo. "What did you do, Isabella?" "She was heartbroken, Edward. And I always knew how much you secretly wished to be a father, even denying it to yourself. So you used my genetic material without my authorization," he completed, his voice dangerously low. "It was a moment of weakness," Isabella admitted, tears forming in her eyes. I thought maybe it was fate, to give her the chance. To be a mother, and you had no right," he cut her off, struggling to keep his voice controlled. "That was my decision to make." "I know," she whispered, "and I regretted it as soon as I did. But Anna Louise got pregnant on the first try, and when she found out through medical records that the genetic material was yours, she decided to abandon the baby on my doorstep," Drummond concluded, the pieces of the puzzle finally falling into place. "No," Isabella protested. "She never wanted to abandon him. Something must have happened. Anna Louise was radiant with the pregnancy, decorated the whole baby's room. I need to find her, understand what happened." Drummond looked at Sophia, who was now excitedly showing some toys to a sales assistant. The girl smiled and waved at him, completely oblivious to the storm brewing a few feet away. The return to the estate was silent. Sophia, exhausted after shopping, had fallen asleep in the back seat of the car, surrounded by colorful bags. Drummond kept his eyes fixed on the road ahead, his mind obsessively replaying the conversation with Isabella. His cell phone vibrated once more. It was Richard again, probably to insist on the risks to his reputation. Drummond ignored the call, just as he had ignored the other 15 he had received since the news began circulating on social media. When they arrived, they found Mrs. Martinez at the door, her usually serene face marked with concern. "Mr. Drummond, we have visitors. I'm in no condition to see anyone right now," he replied, as he gently lifted a sleeping Sophia into his arms, a tenderness that surprised even the housekeeper. "It's Dr. Beatrice Kent," Mrs. Martinez insisted, following him, as he carried Sophia inside. "She brought news about the girl's grandmother, and there's something else." Drummond stopped in the middle of the entrance hall, feeling Sophia's weight in his arms, a weight that strangely seemed to anchor him to reality. "Where's Michael?" "Sleeping. In the makeshift crib we set up. Rita is with him. Take Sophia to her room, please, and then meet me in the office with Dr. Kent." As the housekeeper carefully took Sophia from his arms, Drummond noticed how the girl instinctively clung to the small blue teddy bear she had chosen for Michael, even in her sleep. Something in his chest tightened, In the office, Beatrice Kent awaited him, standing observing the black and white photographs that adorned the walls, all of empty landscapes, devoid of people. "Mr. Drummond, I apologize for showing up unannounced, but urgent information has surfaced." "About Helena Miller?" he asked, sitting behind his desk like a general. Preparing for battle." "Yes," Beatrice replied, taking one of the chairs in front. "I managed to visit her at the hospital this afternoon. Her condition is serious, advanced heart failure. But that's not all." She paused, as if carefully, choosing her next words. "When I mentioned your name, she had a very peculiar reaction." Mrs. Martinez entered at that moment, gently closing the door behind her. Beatrice continued, "Helena Miller worked in this house, Mr. Drummond. A long time ago." The millionaire frowned. "Impossible. I would remember." "It was before you took over the family business," the social worker interrupted. "She was the housekeeper here when your father was still alive. She was dismissed under controversial circumstances." Drummond felt a shiver run down his spine. Vague memories from his adolescence began to surface. A soft-spoken woman who always had fresh cookies waiting for him after school, who knew exactly how he liked his hot chocolate on winter mornings. "Helena," he murmured, the realization hitting him like a thunderbolt. Helena from the kitchen. But she disappeared suddenly. No one ever explained. "She was pregnant when she was dismissed," Beatrice revealed, her voice gentle but firm. "Pregnant with your father's child, Mr. Drummond." The silence that followed was deafening. Mrs. Martinez brought her hands to her mouth, stifling a gasp of surprise. Drummond felt the world spin around him, the walls of his office seeming to close in. "The daughter she had," Beatrice continued, "grew up without knowing her father's identity. She married young, had Sophia, and passed away 3 years ago in a car accident. Helena has raised her granddaughter alone ever since." "Sophia," Drummond whispered, his voice trembling. "Sophia is my niece." "Yes," Beatrice confirmed, "and there's more. Helena is lucid enough to make one last request. She wants to speak with you. She said there are truths that need to be revealed before it's too late." Drummond stood up abruptly, walking to the window. Outside, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, the same colors Sophia had chosen for some of her new dresses that afternoon. "My father," he began, his voice hoarse. "Did he know Helena was pregnant when he fired her?" "According to her, yes," Beatrice replied softly. "There are documents, Mr. Drummond. Letters, proof of monthly bank deposits your father made to her secretly. He may have denied his daughter publicly, but he never stopped providing financially. Until he died last year," Drummond completed, the pieces painfully fitting together in his mind. "And then the deposits stopped, leaving Helena and Sophia destitute," Beatrice concluded, just when her health began to decline. Night had already fallen when Drummond entered the private room at University Hospital, where Helena had been transferred that afternoon. The sound of medical equipment filled the room with a constant hum, while the soft light from a lamp cast dancing shadows on the white walls. Helena was propped up on pillows, her frail figure almost lost among the hospital sheets. But her eyes, Drummond felt a jolt as he recognized them, were the same determined eyes as Sophia's. "Young master, Edward," she said with a faint smile, using the English nickname she used to call him when he was a teenager. "You've grown to be the spitting image of your father." Drummond pulled a chair close to the bed, feeling the weight of decades of secrets between them. "Why did you never tell me, Helena?" "You were just a boy," she replied, her voice weak but clear. "A good boy, different from your father. I didn't want you to carry that burden. And my My half-sister? Sophia's mother? Helena closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering strength. Marina. Her name was Marina. She grew up hearing stories about the mansion where I worked, about the kind boy who always asked for more cookies. She never knew that boy was her brother, or that the owner of the mansion was her father. Drummond felt unexpected tears burn his eyes. I could have known her. We could have been a family. Your father wouldn't have allowed it. Helena shook her head gently. Edward Drummond Sr. had very specific plans for the empire he built. An illegitimate daughter wasn't part of them. But he sent money. Out of guilt, perhaps. Or perhaps because, in his own way, he cared. I never knew for sure. Helena paused, breathing with difficulty. When he died, the deposits stopped. I tried contacting the lawyers, but no one responded. And then I got sick. And Sophia was left alone, Drummond completed, guilt weighing on his chest. She's strong, like her mother was, Helena said with pride. Marina died too young, in a stupid accident. Sophia was only 4. Since then, it's just been the 2 of us. Not anymore, Drummond stated with a firmness that surprised him. Now she has me too, and... He hesitated. Helena, there's something else you need to know. This morning, Sophia found a baby. As he narrated the day's events, Helena listened intently, her face taking on an expression that mixed surprise and something that seemed almost amusement. The universe has a peculiar sense of humor, she commented when he finished. On the same day you discover a niece, you also gain a possible son. How can I take care of them? Drummond asked, the vulnerability in his voice surprising them both. I know nothing about being a family. My own father... Your father, Helena interrupted with surprising firmness, was a man who let fear of scandal and appearances destroy any chance of true happiness. Don't make the same mistake, Edward. At that moment, a nurse entered to check Helena's vital signs. Drummond watched in silence as she adjusted medications and made notes. Sophia is sleeping at the mansion, he said when they were alone again. We went shopping today. She chose a teddy bear for the baby before choosing anything for herself. Helena smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. She was always like that, even with so little, always thinking of others first. She extended a trembling hand, and Drummond instinctively took it. Promise me you'll take care of her, Edward. Promise me you'll give her all the chances Marina never had. I promise, he replied, his voice choked. And I promise you'll see her grow up, Helena. The best doctors... No, she interrupted him, softly. We both know my time is short, but now I can go in peace, knowing Sophia will have a family. A real family. Helena. There's a box, she continued, her voice growing weaker. In my apartment. The address is in my purse. It has letters, photos, documents, everything you need to know about Marina, about your father. I want you to have it. Drummond gently squeezed her hand, feeling the weak pulse beneath his fingers. I'll get it tomorrow, and I'll bring Sophia to see you. My brave girl, Helena whispered, her eyes beginning to close with exhaustion. She found her way back home, even without knowing. Exactly as I always knew she would. The early morning hours at the Drummond estate were far from silent. Michael's cries echoed through the corridors, waking Sophia from her sleep. The girl, still wearing the new pink pajamas chosen that afternoon, slipped out of her room and followed the sound to the baby's makeshift room. Mrs. Martinez was already there, rocking Michael in her arms while trying to prepare a bottle with her free hand. Seeing Sophia at the door, her eyes softened. Can't sleep, little one. Sophia shook her head, approaching timidly. Can I help? I know how to make a bottle. I used to make them for the neighbor's son when she had to work. The housekeeper hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right, the warm water is there in the dispenser, and the formula. Third scoop, no clumps, Sophia completed, already, moving with surprising competence for her 7 years. From the doorway, Drummond watched the scene in silence. He had just returned from the hospital, his mind still processing the conversation with Helena. Seeing Sophia, his niece, the word still sounded strange in his mind, so naturally caring for Michael, stirred an emotion he couldn't name. "Shouldn't you be asleep?" he asked, finally entering the room. Sophia jumped slightly, startled, but didn't spill a drop of the milk she was preparing. "Michael was crying," she replied, as if that explained everything. "Mrs. Martinez could take care of him. Duh." "But we're family now, aren't we?" Sophia questioned, testing the milk's temperature on her wrist like a miniature professional. "Families help each other." Drummond felt that now familiar tightness in his chest. He approached as Sophia handed the bottle to the housekeeper, who immediately began to feed Michael. The baby, as if by magic, stopped crying instantly. "Sophia," he called, crouching to her eye level, "we need to talk." The girl looked at him with her large, serious eyes, so much like Helena's. "Is it about Grandma? You went to see her, didn't you?" "Yes," he confirmed, searching for the right words, "and I found out something important, something about us." Mrs. Martinez, sensing the delicacy of the moment, murmured something about changing Michael and discreetly moved to the other side of the room, giving them privacy. "Sophia, do you know why your grandmother worked at this mansion?" The girl frowned, thinking. She always told stories about here, about the gardens, the kitchen where she made cookies, and about a boy who really liked hot chocolate. "That boy," Drummond took a deep breath, "was me." Sophia's eyes widened. "Really? Grandma made hot chocolate for you?" "Yes, and there's more." He paused, carefully choosing his next words. "Sophia, your mother, Marina, she was my father's daughter." The girl was silent for a moment, her small face concentrated as she processed the information. "Does that mean you're my mom's brother?" "Half-brother, yes," he confirmed, watching her reaction closely. "Which means I'm your uncle. For real, not just because you call me that." Sophia remained quiet for so long that Drummond began to worry. Then, without warning, she threw herself into his arms, hugging him tightly. "I knew it!" she exclaimed, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "I knew there was a reason I always wanted to come here. Grandma told so many stories about this house. I memorized the way. When I was left alone, my legs just brought me here." Drummond hugged her back, feeling silent tears wet his shirt. Across the room, Michael let out a small, satisfied gurgle, as if approving of the scene. "There's one more thing," Sophia said, pulling away slightly to look him in the eyes. "If you're my mum's brother, does that mean Michael is my cousin?" The bad question caught Drummond by surprise. Amidst all the day's revelations, he hadn't thought of it that way. "Well," he began, "if the tests confirm he really is my son, then yes, he'll be your cousin. Then it's even more important for me to help take care of him," she declared with conviction. "Cousins need to stick together like a real family." At that moment, observing Sophia's determined face, Drummond clearly saw traces of Marina, the sister he never knew, and of his own father. It was as if generations of secrets and separations were finally finding a path to healing through this little girl who, by a twist of fate or perhaps something more, had found her way back. "Home, yes," he agreed, his voice hoarse with emotion, "like a real family, a team." The next morning dawned with a heavy rain lashing against the mansion's windows. Drummond, who had barely slept, was in his office, examining the contents of the box he had retrieved from Helena's modest apartment before dawn. Old photos were spread across his desk, his half-sister Marina at different ages, always with the same radiant smile Sophia had inherited. Newspaper clippings about his father's business successes, and most painfully, unsent letters Helena had written to Edward Drummond Sr. over the years. The sound of hurried footsteps in the hallway alerted him seconds before Richard Thompson burst through the door, followed by a distressed Mrs. Martinez. "I'm so sorry, sir," the housekeeper apologized. He insisted. "It's all right," Drummond said, beginning to put the photos back in the box. "You can leave us." As soon as the door closed, Richard threw a tablet onto the desk. "Have you seen this? It's in all the papers." The headline screamed, in bold letters, "Drummond heir hides illegitimate son and discovers secret sister on same day." Below, photos taken at the mall showed Drummond with Sophia, and more recent ones from the hospital entrance. "How?" Drummond murmured, a wave of anger rising in his chest. "Isabella Mendez," Richard replied, pacing nervously around the office. "She gave an exclusive interview this morning, confessing everything about the fertilization procedure. Edward, this could destroy not only your reputation, but the entire empire your father built." "My father?" Drummond laughed humorlessly, picking up one of Helena's letters. "You mean the man who abandoned his own daughter? Who let Helena raise Marina alone, sending money as if that would erase his guilt?" Richard stopped pacing, observing his friend with a mixture of concern and confusion. "What are you talking about?" Sit down, Richard," Drummond ordered, his voice taking on a tone that brooked no argument. "There's something you need to see." For the next hour, Drummond shared with his lawyer all the discoveries of the past 24 hours. Helena's letters, the documents proving the monthly payments, photos of Marina, including one showing a birthmark identical to the one Drummond himself had on his right shoulder. "My God," Richard murmured, sinking into his chair. "This changes everything." "No," Drummond corrected. "This just makes public what should always have been acknowledged. Marina was my sister, Sophia is my niece, and if Michael is truly my son, then maybe this is the universe correcting decades of mistakes." A loud clap of thunder shook the windows, making them jump. At the same instant, a baby's cry echoed down the hall, followed by small, hurried footsteps. "Uncle Edward!" Sophia burst through the door, still in her pajamas. "Michael's?" Scared of the storm. She stopped upon seeing Richard partially hiding behind the door. Drummond stood up immediately. "It's all right, Sophia. This is Richard, a friend." Richard looked at the girl with different eyes now, noticing for the first time the undeniable resemblance to the photos of Marina he had just seen. "Mr. Drummond!" Mrs. Martinez appeared at the door, carrying a crying Michael. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, but—" "Let me try," Sophia asked, holding out her arms. With surprising skill, she took the baby from the housekeeper and began to hum a lullaby softly. Drummond watched, amazed as Michael gradually calmed down in his cousin's arms. The scene was interrupted by the shrill ring of the telephone. "It's the hospital," Mrs. Martinez informed after answering. "About Mrs. Helena." Drummond's heart stopped. No, for a moment. He took the phone, listening intently as the doctor spoke. When he hung up, his face was pale. "Sophia," he called softly, "we need to go see Grandma, now." The girl looked at him, her large eyes filled with an understanding beyond her years. "She's not okay, is she?" "No, sweetie. And she really wants to see you." "And Michael?" "Mrs. Martinez will take care of him," Drummond replied, exchanging a look with the housekeeper, who nodded promptly. Richard stood up, adjusting his suit. "Edward, about the press." "Not now, Richard," Drummond cut him off. "Family first, always family first." As he helped Sophia change quickly, Drummond realized he was unknowingly repeating the same words Helena always said in her unsent letters. Family first, always family first, even if some don't understand its true meaning. The rain continued to lash the city as Drummond and Sophia arrived at the hospital. In the elevator, the girl held his hand tightly, her small body tense with apprehension. She wore one of the new dresses, light blue like Michael's eyes, and carried a drawing she had hastily made before they left, a family of stick figures, all holding hands, with a baby in the middle. In the room, Helena was even paler than the night before, but her eyes lit up when she saw her granddaughter. "My love," she whispered, extending a trembling hand. Sophia ran to hug her, careful of the tubes and wires surrounding her grandmother. "I brought a drawing for you, Grandma. Look, it's all of us. You, me, Uncle Edward, Michael, Mrs. Martinez." Helena examined the drawing with a faint smile. "Our family is beautiful," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "Finally, complete." "Grandma." Sophia hesitated, biting her lower lip. "Uncle Edward told me about Mom, that she was his sister." "Yes, my love." Helena caressed her granddaughter's face. "Your mother always wanted a big family. She would have been so happy to know." A coughing fit interrupted her. Drummond quickly poured some water, helping her drink. When she recovered, her eyes met his with renewed urgency. "Edward," she called, "in the box I gave you, there's a letter, the last one your mother wrote to your father before she passed away." Drummond felt his heart skip a beat. "My mother? But how?" "Your father kept it in his office. I found it when he sent me away. I took it with me because I knew one day you would need to read it." Sophia, sitting on the edge of the bed, watched the conversation with attentive eyes, absorbing every word as if she instinctively understood the moment's importance. She knew, Helena continued, her breathing becoming more labored. "Your mother knew about Marina. In her final weeks, she made your father promise he would take care of us. That's why he started sending the money." Silent tears streamed down Drummond's face. His mother, who had died when he was only 12, had always been an almost sanctified figure in his memory. Gentle, loving, incapable of keeping such heavy secrets. "Why are you telling me this now?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Because..." Helena took a deep breath, gathering her strength. "You need to understand that true love knows no barriers of blood or social standing. Your mother understood that. She wanted Marina to be recognized, for you to grow up together. But your father chose to protect the family name," Drummond completed bitterly. "No," Helena corrected with surprising firmness. "He chose to protect himself. From fear, from shame, from what others would say. And in the process, he lost the chance to know a wonderful daughter." Sophia, who had been quiet until then, took her grandmother's hand. "But now we're all together, aren't we, Grandma? Like a real family." Helena smiled, but the smile soon turned into another coughing fit. When it passed, she was even paler, her words coming out in broken whispers. "Edward," she called, promise you won't make the same mistakes. Michael, Sophia, they need you, and you need them." "I promise," he replied, holding Helena's other hand. "I promise our family will never be separated again." "Sophia," Helena turned to her granddaughter, "my treasure, be strong. Take care of your little cousin, and your uncle too. He might seem tough, but he has a heart as big as yours." "Grandma," Sophia's voice trembled, "don't talk like that. It sounds like you're saying goodbye." Sometimes, Helena replied softly, we need to say goodbye so others can say hello, but I'll always be with you, my love, in the stories I told you, in the cookies I taught you to make, in your smile, which is just like your mother's. The monitors began to beep alarmingly. A nurse quickly entered the room, followed by a doctor. Drummond tried to lead Sophia out, but Helena squeezed his hand with surprising strength. Let her stay, she whispered. She's strong, like her mother was, like you are. Grandma, Sophia leaned in, kissing her grandmother's forehead. I love you. I love you too, my angel, Helena replied, her eyes beginning to close. All of you, my family. The continuous tone of the monitor filled the room. Sophia buried her face in Drummond's chest, who held her tightly, his own tears mingling with hers. Outside, as if the sky shared their grief, the rain fell even harder. The return to the estate was silent, punctuated only by the sound of rain against the car windows and Sophia's occasional sobs, who had cried herself to sleep in Drummond's arms. He carried her carefully, shielding her from the rain with his own jacket as they climbed the entrance steps. Mrs. Martinez awaited them at the door, her face marked with concern. Seeing Drummond's expression and Sophia asleep, she understood. Immediately, "Oh, Lord," she murmured, making the sign of the cross. "How's Michael?" Drummond asked in a low voice, following the housekeeper to Sophia's room. "Sleeping now, finally," she replied, helping him settle the girl in bed. "But there's something else, sir. A visitor arrived about an hour ago. She insists she needs to speak with you urgently." Drummond adjusted the blanket over Sophia, watching her tear-stained face for a moment. "Who is it?" "Anna Louise Stanton." The name hit Drummond like an electric shock. Michael's biological mother. He straightened up, running a hand over his tired face. "Where is she?" "In the library. Rita is with her." On the way to the library, Drummond stopped by Michael's room. The baby slept peacefully in his crib, oblivious to the drama unfolding around him. Those blue eyes, so like his own, were closed in deep sleep. Anna Louise stood up as soon as he entered the library. She was a young woman, no more than 30, with frightened brown eyes and hands that wouldn't stop wringing a damp handkerchief. "Mr. Drummond," she began, her voice trembling. I came for my son." Drummond felt his heart clench. "Why did you abandon him?" "I didn't abandon him," she protested, tears beginning to flow. "I left him where I knew he'd be found, where he'd have a chance." "A chance for what?" "To survive." Anna Louise collapsed into an armchair, sobbing. "My ex-husband. He found out about the baby, about how he was conceived. He started threatening me, said he'd destroy the child, that he was an abomination." Drummond sat in the opposite armchair, trying to control the anger building in his chest. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "He has connections," she replied, wiping her tears, "and influence. When I found out the genetic material used for the fertilization was yours, through the clinic's records, I researched you. I knew you'd have the resources to protect Michael." "Michael," Drummond repeated softly. "You know the name we gave him." Anna Louise smiled sadly. "The housekeeper told me. It's a beautiful name." She hesitated, then continued. "She also told me about the girl who found him, about how she takes care of him." "Sophia," Drummond said, feeling a wave of protectiveness at the thought of his niece. "She just lost her grandmother. Michael he's like a ray of light for her now." "I don't want to take that away from her," Anna Louise replied quickly. "Actually, I have a proposal." At that moment, a familiar cry echoed down the hall. Before anyone could react, Sophia appeared at the library door, still in her crumpled blue dress. "Michael's crying," she said, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Then she noticed Anna Louise and stopped, her eyes widening in understanding. "Are you his mom?" Anna Louise rose slowly, observing the girl with a mixture of surprise and emotion. "Yes, I am." "Are you going to take him away?" Sophia asked, her voice small and frightened. "Sophia," Drummond began, but Anna Louise interrupted him. "No," she said firmly. "I didn't come to take Michael away. I came to stay, if your uncle allows it." Drummond frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "My ex-husband is in jail now," Anna Louise explained. "He was arrested yesterday on other charges, but I'm still scared. And after seeing how Michael is being cared for here, how he has a family..." She took a deep breath. "I thought maybe we could do this together. I could work here, help Mrs. Martinez. We could raise Michael as a family, all of us." Sophia, who had quietly approached, took Anna Louise's hand. "Do you know how to make a bottle?" The unexpected question made Anna Louise laugh through her tears. "Yes, I know how to make a bottle." "Then you can help me take care of him," Sophia decided with childhood simplicity. "He cries a lot in the middle of the night, you know." Michael's cries grew louder, and Sophia let go of Anna Louise's hand. "I need to go see him. Want to come? He probably misses your voice." The days following Helena's funeral were ones of adjustment and discovery. The mansion, once silent and cold, now pulsed with new energy. Michael's cries mingled with Sophia's occasional laughter, who, even in her grief, found moments of joy in caring for her cousin. Anna Louise had settled into the room next to the nursery, and her presence brought an interesting dynamic to the house. Mrs. Martinez, initially wary, eventually found in her a competent ally in organizing the new family routine. The two women were often seen in the kitchen, exchanging recipes and stories while preparing Michael's bottles. One particularly sunny morning, a week after the funeral, Drummond was in his office, rereading his mother's last letter, the one Helena had kept for so many years. Her words seemed to take on new meaning now. "My dearest Edward," she had written in her delicate handwriting, "when you read this letter, I will no longer be here. There are truths that must be spoken, secrets that cannot die with me. Your father is not the cold man he appears to be. His fear of losing control, of showing vulnerability, has made him commit errors I know he deeply regrets. Helena carries a piece of our family in her womb, an innocent child who deserves to know her roots. Do not allow pride and fear to destroy more family ties. Love my son is the only inheritance that truly matters." His reflections were interrupted by soft knocks on the door. It was Sophia, carrying a tray with a steaming cup. "Anna Louise taught me how to make hot chocolate the way Grandma used to make it for you," she said, approaching carefully so as not to spill. Drummond took the cup, the familiar aroma instantly transporting him to his childhood mornings. "It's perfect," he murmured after the first sip. Sophia climbed onto the chair opposite his desk, her feet dangling, not quite reaching the floor. "Uncle Edward," she began seriously, "I was thinking we could make a memory garden for Grandma." "A memory garden?" "Yes," she continued excitedly, "a special place in the garden with the flowers she liked best. And we could plant an apple tree, like the one we had at our old apartment. She always said an apple tree brings good luck." Drummond felt his throat tighten. "That's a wonderful idea, Sophia. And you know what else?" She leaned forward, as if sharing a secret. "We could make a heart-shaped flower bed and plant blue roses, the color of Michael's eyes. Then when he grows up, I can tell him how Grandma helped bring our family together, even without being here." At that moment, Anna Louise appeared at the door holding Michael, The baby, upon seeing Sophia, broke into one of his rare smiles. "He just woke up," Anna Louise explained, "and it seems he's looking for his favorite cousin." Sophia jumped off the chair, rushing to take Michael. With a naturalness that still surprised everyone, she settled him in her small but secure arms. "Did you know we're going to make a special garden for Grandma Helena?" she cooed to the baby. "And you'll get to play there when you grow up, and I'll tell you all the stories she used to tell me." Drummond was watching the scene when his phone vibrated. It was Richard again. For the past few days, his lawyer had called incessantly, worried about media repercussions and nervous shareholders. But for the first time in his life, Drummond realized he didn't care. "Sophia," he called, making a sudden decision. "How about we start that garden today?" The girl's eyes sparkled. "Right now?" "Right now," he confirmed, standing up and placing his mother's letter in a drawer. "Anna Louise, can you help us choose the flowers?" "Of course," she replied, smiling. "Michael loves being outdoors." "Mrs. Martinez," Sophia called excitedly, already running into the hall with Michael in her arms. "We're going to make a garden. Do you know what Grandma's favorite flowers were?" The housekeeper, passing by with a laundry basket, stopped in surprise as she saw her employer remove his jacket and roll up his shirt sleeves. "Sir," she began, "shall I call the gardener?" "No," Drummond replied, surprising himself with the certainty in his voice. "Some things we need to do with our own hands, to remember who we are and to honor those who helped us get here." The afternoon sun bathed the mansion's garden in a golden light as the entire family worked on creating the memorial for Helena. Drummond, sleeves rolled up and dirt on the knees of his Italian trousers, dug holes for the seedlings under Sophia's enthusiastic guidance. Anna Louise, sitting on a blanket spread on the grass, held Michael, who watched everything with his big blue eyes, occasionally giggling at Sophia's antics. Mrs. Martinez bustled between the garden and the kitchen, bringing iced lemonade and cookies, the same kind Helena used to make, following a recipe now carefully preserved in a family recipe book Sophia had started. "Here, Uncle!" Sophia exclaimed, marking a spot in the soil with a small stake. "This is the perfect place for the apple tree. Grandma said it needs plenty of morning sun." Drummond smiled, remembering how Helena always had a scientific explanation mixed with a dash of folk wisdom for everything she did. "And where will we plant the blue roses?" "Around it, forming a heart," Sophia replied, using a twig to draw the outline in the soil. "That way, when the apple tree grows, it'll look like it's inside a heart of flowers." "It's an ambitious project," Anna Louise commented, adjusting Michael in her lap. "It will require a lot of care and patience." "Just like a family," Sophia replied, with a wisdom that often surprised everyone. "Grandma always said love is like a plant. It needs care every day." At that moment, the sound of an approaching car caught everyone's attention. Richard Thompson emerged from his BMW, his immaculate suit contrasting with the relaxed atmosphere of the garden. "Edward," he called, stopping abruptly as he saw his friend and client kneeling in the dirt. What's going on here?" "We're making a memory garden," Sophia answered before anyone else could speak. "Want to help? There are still a lot of holes to dig." Richard blinked a few times, clearly bewildered. "Edward, I need to talk to you. It's about the board meeting tomorrow. The shareholders are nervous about this whole family situation coming to light." Drummond stood up, wiping his hands on his already soiled trousers. "Sophia, honey, keep marking the spots for the roses. I'll be right back." As they walked a few steps away from the group, Richard began, "The numbers from last week." "No," Drummond interrupted softly. "What do you mean, no?" "I'm not going to worry about numbers right now, Richard. For the first time in my life, I'm building something that truly matters." Edward, Richard lowered his voice. I know you're emotional with everything that's happened, but emotional? Drummond chuckled softly. Yes, I am. And you know what? I should have been a long time ago. My father spent his entire life hiding his emotions, denying a daughter, missing the chance to know an incredible granddaughter. I won't make the same mistakes. But the company will survive, Drummond cut him off. In fact, it will do more than survive. I'm going to transform it. Starting tomorrow, I want you to begin preparing the paperwork to create a foundation. The Marina Miller Foundation, in memory of my sister, will help vulnerable children, starting with those at the same hospital where Helena was. Richard opened his mouth to protest, but was interrupted by Sophia's joyful cry. Uncle Edward, Michael's trying to crawl. Everyone turned to see the baby squirming on Anna Louise's lap, clearly trying to reach a butterfly that had landed nearby. You're going to miss it, Richard said, shaking his head with a resigned smile. No, Drummond replied, already turning back to the group. I'm not going to miss any more moments. Back in the garden, he joined Sophia, who was now lying on the blanket next to Michael, showing him how the butterfly danced in the air. Did you know butterflies are angels' messengers? She asked the baby. Grandma told me. So this one must be her saying hi to us. Anna Louise discreetly wiped away a tear, while Mrs. Martinez, who had returned with more lemonade, smiled emotionally. Uncle, Sophia called, can we plant yellow flowers too? That was Mom's favorite color. Grandma always told me. Of course. We can, Drummond replied, sitting beside her. And we'll put a bench here too, so we can sit and tell Michael stories about all the special people in our family. Even the ones we didn't know? Sophia asked, her eyes shining. Especially those, he replied, pulling her into a hug. Because as long as we tell their stories, they'll stay alive in our hearts. Exactly 4 weeks had passed since that Sunday morning when Sophia had knocked on the Drummond estate's door with a baby in her arms. The memory garden, now well underway, was already showing the first signs of life. Green shoots emerged from the dark earth, and the small apple tree stood firm in its new home, protected by the heart-shaped design of the rose seedlings. On this particular morning, the mansion was especially bustling. Mrs. Martinez coordinated preparations for a special breakfast, while Anna Louise dressed Michael in a navy blue onesie that matched his eyes that, as confirmed by the DNA test results received the previous week, were indeed inherited from his father. Sophia, wearing a yellow dress in honor of the mother she hadn't known, sat on the back porch, swinging her legs from her chair as she watched the birds that were beginning to visit the new garden. Are you ready? Drummond asked, approaching with a small package in his hands. Almost, she replied, adjusting the ribbon in her hair. Just need to put on the new shoes Anna Louise got. Me? Before? That, he said, sitting beside her. I have something for you. Sophia took the package carefully, her eyes shining with curiosity. Inside was a beautifully bound hardcover book. It's a family album, Drummond explained. I found more old photos in my father's office, and Anna Louise helped me organize them with the ones from Grandma Helena's box. Sophia opened the album reverently. On the first page, a photo of baby Marina in Helena's arms, next to a recent photo of Michael, created a touching composition. She was beautiful, Sophia whispered, tracing her mother's smiling face with her finger. Just like you, Drummond replied, turning the page to reveal more photos. A young Helena in the mansion's kitchen, himself as a child, drinking hot chocolate, his father in rare, smiling moments, his mother in the garden. Look, Sophia exclaimed, pointing to a particular photo. Grandma's apple tree, just like the one we planted. And it will grow strong like that one, he assured her, especially with you taking care of it. At that moment, Anna Louise appeared on the porch with Michael, who immediately reached out his arms for Sophia. "Someone's eager to see his cousin." Anna Louise smiled, handing the baby to Sophia, who received him with her usual competence. "Look, Michael," she said, showing the album to the baby. "This is our family. There are a lot of people we didn't know, but they're all here, watching over us from heaven." Mrs. Martinez appeared at the door. "Breakfast is served, and Richard just arrived with the foundation documents." Everyone headed to the dining room, where the table was set with special care. Richard, already seated with a folder of documents beside him, smiled as the group entered. "The papers are ready for signature," he announced. "The Marina Miller Foundation will be officially launched today." "On the same day we became a family," Sophia observed, settling Michael into his special high chair. "No, sweetie," Drummond corrected gently. "We were already family. We just needed to find each other." As everyone served themselves, the conversation flowed naturally. Plans for the foundation, the garden's progress, the new words Michael was beginning to babble. Mrs. Martinez told old stories of the mansion, now without fear of mentioning Helena, while Anna Louise shared her own childhood memories. "Uncle Edward," Sophia called suddenly, "can we do something?" "What do you want to do?" "Can we take a picture? Everyone together in the memory garden to put in the new album." The suggestion was met with unanimous approval. Soon everyone was positioned in the garden, with the small apple tree and rose seedlings as a backdrop. Richard, designated photographer, adjusted the camera on a tripod. "Wait!" Sophia called. She ran inside and returned with the blue teddy bear she had chosen for Michael on the first day. "He's family too." "Deed." When the flash went off, it captured a moment of rare perfection. Sophia on Drummond's lap, holding the blue teddy bear, Michael in Anna Louise's arms, smiling his toothless grin, Mrs. Martinez radiant beside them, and in the background, the memory garden beginning to bloom, a living promise that love, when allowed, can heal even the oldest wounds. "Now," Sophia declared, satisfied, "our story is complete." "No, my love," Drummond corrected, kissing the top of her head. "Our story is just beginning."